Which
Like a Canadian. You said it earlier when we were. I don't know what we are talking about. Uh, that makes me saying I don't know what we were talking about. Make it sound like I'm trying to hide what we were talking about. I just don't remember what we were talking about an hour and a half ago. But it was boobs. But he
boobs.
said it in a way that was like it sounded like a Canadian saying.
One of my favorite things. Hi, everybody. I'll introduce this in a minute. One of my favorite things about the what's the channel that does the honest trailers? The way that guy says
Yeah.
boobs in his deep voice is like boobs. Like, it cracks me up every time. It's like he's clearly pronouncing it the BEWBS way. Hi, this is a family-friendly podcast where you can listen to it with your kids, and there's no discussion about that stuff. And we were also talking about the cannibal from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, not a real cannibal, right before he showed up. My name's Shawn Shaler. That's my friend Chris Ford, a.k.a. The Objective Geek of YouTube and Twitter. And this is not a podcast about boobs or cannibals. It is about Avatar, The Last Podcasters, or Avatar, The Last Airbender, and The Legend of Korra, I should say. And today we're going to discuss I think, a very interesting debate topic, and we're kind of going into it blind. We do not know the other's feelings, although I bet we could guess.
I'm curious though. I'm. You probably know exactly where I'm at,
100%.
and I, and I am 50-50 on where you're at. So
We'll
we'll
get into it in a minute, but
yeah.
I'm excited to discuss it with you. But it's a fun topic. It's Toph versus Azula. Not directly in a fight, although we might wrap up with that just for fun, right? So stay through to the end. We'll talk about a Toph versus Azula fight, just a head-to-head for fun. But what we're talking about,
If you're here for the fights, we'll get into the fights for at least a little bit and say who we think will win in actual fisticuffs or element to cuffs.
it's it's unavoidable. It's gonna happen. We will talk about fighting, but what the primary point of this topic is, in their book 2 introductions, book 2 Earth, is which introduction is more integral to the story or impactful, or I keep
their addition to the show.
Yes, and that's I don't know if they're two of the most prominent figures of book 2 that distinguish it from book 1. And I think it's a great discussion that I had never thought about before seeing it in your Keep Notes list of suggestions for episodes. And I think it's a great topic. But before we get to that topic, Chris, we just recorded another episode 10 minutes ago. So I'm sure you're still doing fine. But if there's anything else about yourself you'd like to share, I'm always ready to hear.
Nah, everything changed in the last 10 minutes, Shawn. It's been going to hell. Don't understand why people listen to Cat Williams, but the thing is, it's almost driving me crazy. An idiot could say something that's truthful, even because some of what he said is truthful, and you don't have to believe the rest of it. I see people going with the whole thing. And I'm like, all right, he first said Cedric Entertainer stole a joke from him. Sorry, people. And there's proof that Cedric the Entertainer, who's a comedian on the Kings of Comedy, stole a joke from him. Okay, that's messed up. And then he goes on with like, me and Ludacris sat down with the Illuminati, and they said, hey, one of you can be in 10 movies and make $200 million, and the other one not. And Ludacris took him up on that deal, and now look at him. He's in Fast and Furious movies. He's making $10 million in every movie, making 20-something movies. I'm like, why are people believing everything? He just said he had a meeting with the Illuminati. It's like,
He's
anyway,
also a literal comedian.
He is a storyteller. He's a comedian. He will exaggerate things and come up with things. Why are you believing everything he says? Some of the things he say is true,
but
that doesn't mean you believe everything he says. And it's entertaining. Like I watch pretty much every clip I come by because I'm like, I'm probably gonna be entertained by this. But then when I see commentary about like, oh, he's spitting facts, 100%. Cat's always been a real one. I'm like, people are taking crazy pills.
I think listen, when you sit down to intentionally watch comedy, comedy needs to be observed through the scope of not true unless specifically stated otherwise. Right? This is not a piece of news that you're vetting for the false bits. It is the other way around. It is comedy. It is a story. But I'm sure that varies
Anyway,
comedian by comedian.
have you seen the Cat Williams stuff on the internets,
Uh,
or are you not on that side of the internets?
no, I come across several of his shorts on
Okay,
TikTok. Probably not from his official channel, probably from
yeah,
other people. But I watch a
yeah,
fair
yeah.
bit of stand-up bits on TikTok and
Okay,
YouTube Shorts.
so this, so this was an interview that Shannon Sharp. Shannon Sharp has a podcast. He interviews people, and Cat Williams sat down, did like a 2 hour, almost 3 hour interview with him. Typically, these are like an hour long, and like Shannon Sharp introduces Cat Williams, like, "Here's my guest today. It's you know him, comedian, and then Cat Williams just goes off for like the first 30 minutes or whatever, and just like puts a bunch of people on blast. No question was asked. He just starts going off on people. Um, but and so it's just it's a weird
I
weird
don't know
thing.
if
It
I've
just
come
comes off.
across any of that at all.
Oh,
Like
okay.
I think all that it's like I don't know if I have any context of Cat Williams outside of literal stand-up comedy or
Yeah.
roasts. So
Yeah. And then he blasts Kevin Hart, which I just think he's a hater when it comes to Kevin Hart. And there was a point in both of their careers where they were like the same level. Like both of them were like doing little side movies and stuff here and there. Both of them have released like three comedy specials to critical acclaim. And then now Kevin Hart is there,
yeah,
and Cat Williams is somewhat obscure. So I think part of that is just he's a hater, which like whatever. Um, anyway, like sometimes, and he'll make it seem like, oh yeah, Kevin Hart is an industry plant, whatever that means, or he's a bot, like he was put in position by people and stuff. I'm like, no, I think Kevin Hart just worked hard at what he does. Like there's Kevin Hart didn't one day just be a star. Like he was going to be a guest appearance on Modern Family, play a very tenth,
Hmm?
15th most important role because that's where his career was at that point, and he just worked himself up to a point, made himself there, showed up. But anyway, that's my
Pandora.
tangent for the week.
Those years at Payless, listening to stand-up comedy on Pandora, so shaped my views of comedy that I
Yeah.
have nothing against Kevin Hart. I think he's great. That's fine. But his stuff doesn't always land for me because it's so expressive, and I take in most of my comedy audio only. Right? Like, so
Okay.
people
Yeah.
with gestures or heavily reliant on facial expressions, or the fact that he's small
Mhm.
and like he's a lot of motion and things, like I find that a lot of this stuff doesn't land for me, which is probably exactly why, like the opposite reason why, and I do love John Mulaney, right? Because there's very few, like John Mulaney's
John
face is
Mulaney is
always right here, you know?
just here's the microphone. Ah, ah, ah,
Yeah,
ah, ah.
that's it. Or like I would say, in a nutshell, like I find Cat Williams funnier because I don't need to see his face ever really for his jokes.
Yeah.
So I do enjoy Cat Williams comedy probably more than Kevin Hart. Again, not taking sides. It's just funny. I'm sitting here thinking, it's like, do I like Kevin Hart? Yeah, in movies when I'm watching the movie on screen.
I like Kevin Hart's first thing is I think with every comedian, their first three specials are going to be the best three specials they ever do, and for some reason they go downhill from there.
I mean, comedy is
Um,
kind of a finite resource, like new material. It's,
yeah, yeah.
you know, that
Like I watched a little bit of the most recent Chappelle one, and I'm just like, yeah, this isn't as good as killing them softly, which is like great,
mm,
amazing.
that's
And like
one of
same
my
with Chris
favorite.
Rock,
That's
like
one of my favorite specials. Period.
yeah, like I somehow downloaded it on LimeWire or something, and I put it on a CD. And when I worked overnights at McDonald's, I would just play that while I was, taking orders, whatever was on in the background. um, Back when you couldn't wear headphones and
Yeah,
stuff.
just
But
that's
and then
awesome.
his other specials great too. But two freaking great specials. Chris Rock's Bigger and Blacker special, so good, still freaking applicable to today.
Hmm?
Such a great special. But then I watched recent ones. I'm just like, yeah, I'm not feeling this. Like, I don't know. I'm glad John Mulaney didn't fall in, and maybe it's just because I saw that live.
I think so. I
Because
think I think if we had seen that one not live, we probably wouldn't have enjoyed it as much. I think the rule of 3 would probably still apply. I think the live is a sway.
Yeah.
I do like Bigger and Blacker, but Chris Rock is another one where I probably don't appreciate as much. And there again, he's very expressive. I think that's part of it.
Oh yeah. The facial things he makes.
Yeah, that's like not half of it, but it is a part of it. But I do like Bigger and Blacker. That's fantastic. And yeah, the rule of 3. That's actually probably a pretty good rule of ones I can think of, at least.
Yeah.
In the world of comedy.
I think so.
I have no idea how we got on that topic. We're talking about the Illuminati and Shannon Sharp, and now we're on to rule of 3 in comedy. But listen,
skip. I miss hearing Shannon say skip. Skip.
His retaliation voice, right? That's when that's his I'm talking second voice. Is the skip? Yeah. Chris, great impressions there on Kat and Shannon. Nicely done.
Oh,
Chris, the episode this week is Toph or Azula in book 2, or the Toph versus Azula. I don't even know how to title it. I'm going to say Toph versus Azula in book 2. Whose introduction?
I think Toph versus Azula. I would frame this as Toph versus Azula. Who was the better addition to the show? That's a long time. But Toph versus Azula. Better addition? ?
Ooh, I like that.
Sure.
No, that's good. I'm gonna go with that. Let me write it down before I forget. Chris, how do you want to kick this off? Who do you want to start? Why?
Yeah. So I figured. So just to level set, I was on Twitter, and someone had wrote, "Which character's introduction completely changed the show for the better?" And this person had like subtweeted this or posted this with Toph. Like, definitely Toph was the best addition. And I was thinking about it. I was like, yeah, Toph was a really great addition, but was she the best? I was trying to think of whose addition to the show was better. And I thought, oh, Azula. Like, those two are the two who changed Avatar for the better, but which one was the best?
Whose non-early season 1 introduction changed the show, right? Like they weren't in the first few episodes.
Yeah. It's not like, oh, King Boomy was added or oh, Suki was added. Like, no, they weren't really.
Yeah.
And like these are like almost, although
midstream.
Someone might be like,
yeah.
Someone might be like, well, Zula was actually in the first episode because because she's in the.
All right, measured on screen time in seconds.
Yes, and actual words. Like actual character in addition.
Yeah.
So as for talking about this debate, so we could approach it 3 different ways. There's the first way of whose addition was the made the show the best, and also whose addition changed the universe of Avatar the most. But I think the most of this conversation, I think, could be. Oh, and the third one is just ended with who won in the fight.
That's beautiful.
I think most of this conversation will be around whose addition made the show better.
And Chris, I think I have my clear answer to that question. And
what do you guess mine would be? And I'll go over mine.
You're just gonna be Azula. And listen, you know what? Here, spoiler alert, not spoiler alert. Here's my answer, but I'm gonna say my answer.
Okay, wait. Let me guess.
Yeah, go ahead. Let me guess.
I'm gonna guess, man. But okay, so in your point of view, I think
to the first question, that's important to the making the better show. Yes, to the first question.
I think for you, and I'm 50-50 on this, but I think it's Toph. I think it's very close.
It is very close. I'm gonna take Azula, and my short answer is that Toph is the better character, and I like Toph better as a character. But remember, you introduced me to that idea from the commentary where they had to add a more present villain. They had to bring Ozai into a more present role. And so at first that was Zuko. And then throughout book 2 or late book 2, that kind of shifts away from being Zuko. But we still needed that truly, and you already know in book 2, Zuko's going to flip. You know it's going to happen because he's with Iroh. We needed that presence, and to write her in at that point where you now have a good feel for Team Avatar and for Zuko and Iroh's relationship to some degree, to recognize that and to bring her in at that point and to craft a compelling villain in the fashion that they did, knowing that it wasn't the big bad, was nothing short of stellar writing and crafting, in my opinion. And so I do think that you knew there was going to be an earthbending master somewhere, right? You knew that was going to have to happen. It was sort of predicted, foretold, what are they going to do with it?
Yeah,
but you did not necessarily know how or that they were going to try to make this real and present danger the way that they did.
Yeah.
It's super close, though. I love them both so much.
Yeah, they're both great. I really thought you would choose Toph because Toph, the great thing that Toph added was, here's a BA character. While Aang is BA, Aang is like reserved. He doesn't want, I would never describe Aang as a BA.
I don't think he'd want that either. Whereas Toph definitely would.
Sure, he's BA sometimes, but when he doesn't want to be it. Toph is like, I'm Toph mother effing Bay song. I am the greatest I've been alive. I'm that. If she's Samuel Jackson, she's the bad mother effer.
Absolutely. She's Samuel L. Jackson in basically every movie that Samuel L. Jackson is in.
Yeah. She's Samuel L. Jackson of Avatar. So she added this element that was missing of this BA character. She also added another quality of comedy to the show, which works in great tandem with works in great tandem with Sokka. Like, it's almost like, here's two friends and they're idiots together. Not idiots, because they're not idiots. Neither one of them are idiots.
Yeah,
but together. They can be a little silly. And she provided some confrontation, a complete opposite of Aang in that sense, because she wasn't like Aang at all. And she wasn't like Katara. So it put conflict in Team Avatar where there wasn't really conflict before. Mm-hmm. And I think that was done really well. Because Team Avatar before, there was a little conflict here. It felt forced sometimes.
Very timely, though, too. Like, we had just, we're set now. We know Team Avatar. We feel some intimacy with them. Mm-hmm. And then you plop in this new character that, instead of just being a trainer, is a member of the team. But I think the timing is perfect for when they brought her in.
Yeah.
Chris, I think about the actual... Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good.
So I was thinking about their literal introductions, and I think they're like when they actually first step into the show, not the flashback in book 1, but when they actually show up, it describes a lot about like how you and I enjoy the show differently. Is because I know that you are a big fan of Azula on the ship and that whole bit, right? Yeah. And I'm not as much. Yeah. I love Toph's... The introduction to Toph, that whole first 2 episodes or whatever with Toph, of like this tiny blind girl talking crap in a wrestling ring. Like, it's funny, it's extreme, it's goofy.
Yeah.
And I think that says a lot about the different things that we maybe take, or the different ways that we watch the show. But
that is essentially, in a vacuum, I think our
taste,
our approach and taste and appreciation for the show.
100%.
Because like when I see the introduction to Azula, like if we were talking about just the introduction, which for a minute I thought maybe you did get, I think I put in my statement introduction. Not my statement, but in the list.
I don't know if you did or not. I just I thought it's worth bringing up that it's so like a microcosm for sure.
Yeah, but That is interesting because they have two very dramatically different introductions.
So
Like
opposite.
Azula's introduction isn't like I'm Azula, I'm a BA. It's like I'm Azula. I know who the f I am. I am freaking royalty. I am um, uh, a little bit I'm manipulative. I am. Dang, I can't think of the word I'm looking for.
She's crafty. She's
Very.
guile. She demanding,
Uh,
commanding. There's probably a good word.
yeah. Threatening.
Yeah,
There's.
she is less so. So like even when you're introduced to Zuko, you have much sooner, much very soon, not much sooner, very soon you have like some sympathies for Zuko, pretty close to right out of the gate. Part of that's because of Iroh, yeah, but you just do. You don't. As soon as this woman steps off the ship, right, or as soon as you see her on the ship, like there's no sympathy, and your brain
Yeah.
has a pretty good vibe. It's like, yeah, this is the clear and present danger. Like they very effectively set the tone with Azula, and I think that's a big
Yes.
part of my answer, despite
Yeah.
my introductory preferences. I think
Yeah. And like she, I mean, she says to the captain, like it's a threatening. Like the thing is, the
to a
captain,
ship captain, a
and from the
person of
eyes,
status.
yeah, and from the eyes perspective, the captain seems right. He's like the tides won't let us come in because, like, that's what the captain would know. The tides won't let us come in. It's I don't have any power over tides. I'm just letting you know the tides won't let us come in. Just like who runs this ship? Like, do the tides come in the ship? He's like, I don't know what you're talking. Like, you ever? I've been in those positions before. When I'm in a meeting and someone, freaking Steve Patton, has me. Oh my god, this is one of the moments I hated my career, which put me in the worst spot ever. I'm glad that my current company isn't like that at all. Like, no one's trying to trick me up and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, there was a time where maybe he was getting back at me or something. I don't think. There was one time where planners or analysts used to have meetings with Steve. Like it was just like a touch base that he would have with like a group of them. And one time he was like 7 minutes late, and he came in. He was like, "Oh, sorry, I'm late. Like my assistant scheduled this way down here." And me, stupidly, was like, "Oh, well, it only takes like 2 minutes walking down here. You're 7 minutes late." Said that jokingly. And
Did
everyone was like, "Chris,
read the
what?"
room, Chris. Read the room.
But it was just a joke. I don't think that had to do with this time that he freaking belittled me. In front, like it was at a an open to buy meeting where we go over like our inventory's coming in here, our markdowns are coming in here, sales coming in here. And I go over it, and I'm like, all right, we're gonna have sales plan to increase in this month, in this quarter, and so in this month, inventory should come in here. And he's like, what product is coming? I'm like, oh well, and I'm like, well, we have some wedges or something coming in. He's like, no, what specific product coming in? I'm like, oh, I don't know the specific product name. Um, well, no, before I answered, Jason and Melissa answers for me because they know the freaking answer. Like they're about to answer the question, and then Steve like almost hushes them. I was like, no, I want Chris to answer the question. Like, why are you being a dick? Like they know the answer. I talked with them. We all went over the sales together. Why are you calling me out on
We're the
this?
same
One that he doesn't
team.
know that I'm yeah, I'm over covering two merch planner positions, training Robert on one end. Stuff like you don't know everything I'm trying to do here. I'm sorry I don't know the specific answer for this specific shoe coming in.
Also in
But
Latin America, covering very broad strokes, right? Like
yeah.
that's a wide range of inventory to have to be aware of. That's all. That's all I'm saying.
And
Come
other
on,
people are about
Steve,
to
be
report.
better. I don't know where he's
The thing
at.
is, after that meeting, Liz was like, Steve was out of line for doing that too. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. But in retrospect, I'm like, well, Liz, you should have spoke up at that point. Like, you should have spoke up and told him, like, no, Chris. Like, one thing, Chris is doing this and this and this. Like, it's you're one thing you're out of line for a question like that. Like that was like Robert's first open to buy meeting because he
Oof.
was there to kind of watch me, and he was like, Chris, after that meeting, I didn't never want that to happen to me.
Robert's probably like, man, American
Like
business sucks.
he was like, It was like I went out of my way to like look at everything and stuff. It's like one oh, I think I'm getting off tangent. One from a prep meeting. It's still funny to this day. Robert says something. He had say we were in spring. We were probably in the summer. He has some fall product coming in. He wants to use his markdowns on those fall products. And so we're talking about markdowns and stuff. And because we argue over, oh, I want markdowns. Because, we'll shift them around and
Yeah.
stuff and lend them and stuff. And then we're like, Robert, what markdowns? What do you need this for? He's like, oh, from my FL product. And we're like, FL product? we're trying to promote like spring products right now. Like, what? Like, we kind of laughed at him, like in a funny way.
Let's say you didn't belittle him in front of an audience.
He was still bringing it up to this day. I could text him and Mo and be like, "Remember when Robert tried to promo that fall product in like the middle of summer?"
Let them see
that was,
seasons in. Remind me. I think they're from El Salvador. Robert and Carmen.
yeah.
So listen, they don't really have seasons how we're used to. Okay, like cut them some slack.
So, anyway, back to the story of Azula belittling his captain.
I miss Roberto so much. Azula just to a man of status, to an officer in command of a valuable Fire Nation commodity.
Yeah, belittles and threatens him that she was like, do the tides care about you? Because if I throw you over the ship, the tides won't care about you at all. They'll just rip you to pieces. But me, I haven't decided yet if I'm going to tear you to pieces. Like, that is so menacing and threatening. And so much of that character. But yeah, story wise. So long story short, even though I love Toph's addition to the show, this was like an easier answer for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Azula's addition is more impactful to the show because one, she adds, like you said, that other element to the villain side that you didn't see coming.
Did not at
she
all.
is
First watch through, it caught me totally off guard.
Yeah,
like you knew Toph was coming, maybe not in the way that she did, but
yeah, we knew the formula. It was like, all right, Aang got a waterbender teacher this year, he'll get another one next year. We'll just see. He'll get an earthbender teacher next year. We'll see what it is.
And fire will be the last one, obviously. Like, we get that.
Yeah. Azula was like, no, here's a new threat. And at first she's introduced pretty lightly, and then you're like, oh, she is.
This is not a one episode. You get that sense pretty quickly too. This is not a one episode sidekick, right? No, like, nope. This is the new clear and present danger right here.
Yeah, and she was freaking threatening. Like, she pretty much killed Aang, and she took over. She was so threatening. She took over a whole nation, pretty much just with her and two other girls. Like, that's her level of threat, and also her conniving and her manipulations. It just added a completely different dynamic than Zuko. Like, Zuko and Zhao were incompetent. Like, book one, they're almost the fuddy duddy villain.
Yeah, they're the putties or the bad guys for Power Rangers.
Yeah, like Zhao, you knew Zhao wasn't ever going to take down Aang. Like Aang fought him in dance his butt in front of Zhao's face. No way Zhao was going to take down Aang. Like, imagine Aang trying to do that to Azula. He's dead.
Cut him in half. Absolutely, no question.
Yeah.
But Chris, that brings us to the second question, though. Which you want to go first? Or you want me to?
I go first. So the second question is, whose addition to the Avatar universe was more impactful? And so while my answer to the first question was undoubtedly Azula, this one is undoubtedly Toph. Like, Toph's legacy in the universe of Avatar: Last Airbender is one of the greatest legacies for someone who is not the Avatar, and is not of any type of royalty. In fact, her impact is greater than a lot of different royalty. I wouldn't say anyone royalty, especially if you think about the novels and stuff.
We're
But
talking about a
her
person who ends up
adding,
an old woman in a tree, you know?
yeah, like her creation of metal bending fundamentally changed the universe. And like, sure, Azula conquered Ba Sing Se, but in the history books, it'll be like I don't think about who like if I think about Thomas Edison, even though I'm sure he stole plenty of different things, but he but he is known for modernizing and popularizing. That's not the word I'm looking for, but delivering electricity to the world,
Making it
which fundamentally
accessible
changed
to the normal
accessible.
human, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, widening the accessibility of it. That completely changed the world. Granted, way more dramatic than metal bending did, but actually, Henry Ford is probably a better example. Yeah,
There we
Henry
go.
Ford probably a better example, and also more probably has more concrete responsibility in the
Every day
anyway.
when I wake up from my 8 to 5, I think, Henry Ford, I hope you're burning in hell. No, that's too far, but
I mean, Henry Ford did popularize the supply not supply chain the oh my
what's
gosh
it called?
uh
The
belt oh my gosh I feel so
hold
dumb
on, we
to
can
just
get
took the
this.
freaking the
Something
oh
line,
my
production line.
gosh
That ain't right. What is it called?
no
The assembly line.
assembly line oh my
Yes, that's
gosh
what. Why did it take us that
I'm
long to say that?
I'm in the middle of getting my Lean Six Sigma green belt and I couldn't think of assembly line.
We're intelligent, educated people, and we took us 3 minutes to think of assembly line. Yeah, every time I wake up, I blame Henry Ford for a lot of modern American problems, first world
Yeah,
problems for sure, no doubt.
I do think he's to blame for the 40-hour work week.
I think he is. Yeah, no,
If I read
that's
that
part of
somewhere.
my
Yeah.
qualm with that guy. Chris, ditto to all the
But yeah,
things. Yeah,
Toph's impact is like Henry Ford. Like that dramatically changed everything in the world. Like people copy that, industries change, manufacturing change. Like you just added a whole new freaking way of thinking in life to the world that everyone can not everyone, but can be utilized across the world. And metal bending did that.
so ditto to everything you said. I share the same answer. It's tough in this question, and but then also I want to add I want it to add a slightly like more sentimental approach to this one too, like my relationship with the Avatar universe. If
Yeah.
you if you replace Toph with like, I mean, they still would have needed an Earthbender, and they would have come up with something good because they're good writers or whatever. But like, if it wasn't as good as Toph, if it was somebody else that didn't
It
have
was
the
the
impact,
original one of being like the because the original one to be a man, a boy, probably not as not the same personality as Toph.
not as
It became
memorable, not as personable. Maybe that person doesn't get carried in that legacy way into the Legend of Korra, right? Maybe
hmm
not.
yeah.
But that's a big part of my joy of watching the show in the first place. Of like, maybe if it's somebody else instead of Toph, instead of the show being like a 10 out of 10, it's my favorite show. Yeah, maybe it's just a 9 out of 10. Maybe that's missing that. She brings such a unique element that appeals to me personally. That's my sentimental answer. She's a big part of the type of TV show that I want to watch and enjoy. And she's very important to my relationship to the universe. So, both more objectively what you said, and then subjectively, she's
Mhm.
just extremely important to me and how I enjoy the show.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, good point.
All right, Chris, let's make him pick a fight.
Ooh, pick a fight. I feel like my opinion is going to be an unpopular opinion, but there's facts to back it. If Toph has any weakness to any bending, it's fire bending. And because her feet can't get burned, and I think her feet will get burned fighting Azula. Also, Azula has lightning, and that's not one of the. Azula can use lightning. She doesn't have to go through the motions like she used to. Like she can just go and
Shoot like a
zap you.
gun, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't think seismic
So
sense helps with a gunshot. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think the reaction speed is there.
yeah, and so I like even if Azula had to do all of this, blocking one thing Toph wouldn't know. Oh, that is the motion for her lightning bending. She Toph would just be like, okay, she's doing something. Like Toph knows the motion for earth bending. Like that's she knows. Like all right, this person foot hit right there, vibrations, earth kicking over. Like when she first faced Aang, Aang blew her away with wind because those things are harder to read than earthbending is. And like I said, Azula being able to just pew, 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 and also just pure fire is probably the worst matchup for Toph. I mean, yeah, for Toph than someone not named Amon or another Bloodbender or the Avatar.
Or just, I think airbending could be a hair more
Or
problematic,
yeah,
but
yes,
in
like
an offensive
yeah,
way.
Zahir is beating Toph.
Yeah,
Also,
that just and
you can't
mm,
fly around and fight a and blind person who sees through vibrations through the earth.
yeah,
She's not seeing vibrations through the wind.
I think
Yeah,
it'd be very
Zahir is.
hard for her to beat standard Aang. Just I think that's a bad matchup, maybe even more than fire. But
Max that's a win. Yeah, yeah, okay, that's a good point.
but I I completely agree. I will say that the things that would help Toph, like if I was gonna say like how many out of 10, if there was like a
Yeah,
1 or 2 out of 10 that Toph won, it would be because she got something off that was very incapacitating very early, right? She got the metal bending around Azula before Azula could fire, so it would be like the if she got the first hit, she'd probably win. You know that instant victory kind of deal that would incapacitate Azula. But in every other circumstance where there was an actual kind of drawn out fight, I don't think it would favor her at all.
yeah. I'm gonna go 10 fights. I'll get Toph 2.
Yeah, I'm in that 4 out of 5, 8 out of 10 territory, and I think it's not luck. It's just that she managed to get that first hit, and that it was a very big impact. You know, she launches Azula a mile into the air, or completely metal bending incapacitates her somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And it's it kind of stinks to think about because
Yeah,
I love Toph's fighting style, but the fact is that Toph's the best Earthbender alive, but particularly against
yeah,
other Earthbenders. Like
true.
that's
Yeah, Toph versus any Earthbender,
yeah, hands down.
probably. Yeah, I think we went over
Yeah, we
this
put her up
well.
there,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
and
We definitely had her as the best Earthbender.
hmm?
But I forget if it was like because we didn't break it down to like, oh, who's the best fighters of Earthbending?
Of
But she
Earthbender.
would be, yeah,
The
because
wrestling
her,
scene makes perfect sense as an introduction to her because yeah, she is functionally going to be better than any other Earthbender at Earthbending in
yeah.
that very specific
Imagine,
scope.
imagine Boomy in that situation. Like, I think Toph is really good at fighting multiple Earthbenders at the same time, and I'm not
Because
sure Boomy would. I mean, Boomy would still,
her
yeah,
seismic sense does not suffer from the issues that peripheral vision suffers from. It is very what do you call it? Very multi-directional, right? Whereas you and
Mhm.
I would be looking straight forward and out of the side of our eyes. Um, Boomy's still pretty ground bound, right? So he doesn't have a great
Yeah.
defense against that. I don't have any issue thinking that she would beat Boomy 8 out of 10 times.
I don't know. I'll probably take Toph.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah,
But in this case, yeah, this isn't a good matchup. Only slightly better than the airbending matchups, in my opinion.
yeah.
And that's too bad, but that's okay. Azula's one thing is being horrible, evil, and violent, so that's fine. Chris, final thoughts on Toph or Azula?
Both great characters. Love them both. Uh, I would the show without either one, the show wouldn't be as good.
Yeah, it's not that there wouldn't be a replacement, but like if the replacement was closer to a replacement level character, it could legitimately affect my views of the quality of the show, like in a noticeable way.
Yeah.
Like obviously they would find another earthbending master, they go back to Boomy or I don't know, make somebody else up, but no, I love her exactly as she is. Gosh, even down to the episode where they're watching the theater reproduction, like, just what would that episode have looked like with anybody else? It wouldn't have been as enjoyable. That's such a big part of that episode.
The voice actress for Toph, like Kayla Murphy, I think that's her name. I think it's her stage name was Jessie Flowers.
Nice.
I think her real name is Michaela Murphy, but she goes on Michaela Murphy now. But she has her own YouTube channel, and she's been reviewing every single episode. She just got to the Blind Bandit episode. So
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Good for her. I'll have to go check that out. After I finish Brooklyn Nine-Nine, of course.
Yeah. Well, she'll be at Planet City Comic Con in March.
Cool.
Get to meet her.
I would be delighted to meet her. That would be very high on my list of Avatar characters to meet. What other shows does she do? Anything else I would recognize?
Not really. I think she voiced a small little girl in Emperor's New Groove. And then she voiced Suyin and Beifong in Legend of Korra for those flashbacks. She also voiced Mang in Avatar Season 1, The Fortune Teller.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Does not look familiar. Let's check out the old IMDb. This is not relevant to the episode. I'm just curious. Let me see here. Korra, Avatar. Yeah, not much else here that.
Yeah. Well, she kind of, she was very early in coming into.
She must have been very young when she started, yeah.
And then she kind of just went away, which is probably good, for her. Her and Noah Ringer. Not Noah. Oh my gosh, sorry people. Noah Ringer is the M. Night Shyamalan Aang. Why can't I think of the other voice actor for Aang? Anyway, he also kind of went away.
She is a character that I don't remember from Meet the Robinsons.
Yeah.
And
she has
credits. Girl. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, she's the that's right. She's the he ends up marrying her. I really like it.
I've only seen it one time, and it's not that I didn't like it, but I only saw it once.
Yeah.
And then it looks like she's in other movies that I recognize, but not recognizable characters from those movies.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway. Hey, thanks for watching Avatar The Last Podcasters. My name's Shawn, that's Chris. Please leave likes, comments, thumbs ups, subs, bells, whatever. We appreciate it all. It's great. I'll put information about the episode down in the description. And we will see you again in next week. I was going to say 2 weeks, but it doesn't work like that for them. We'll see you next week. See ya.
Goodbye, people.
And now 20 seconds of Chris impersonating Cat Williams. Go.
My pet name's